Hey YouTubers, Gearbox here. I don't feel I've been as active on my channel as I'd like to be. Let's fix that. Today I'm going to give you the history on my 1982 Mustang GT, or at least the 24 years of it that I have. Before I found it, it was sitting rotting beside someone's house for 12 years. The sun had completely destroyed just about everything on it. The paint was done. The Mako, if you want to call it bodywork, was demolished. The Bondo had baked off. The paint was oxidized. It had a red interior and it looked pink because it had been so sun bleached. The tires were rotted. The fuel lines were rotted. The brake fluid had gelled up in all the brake components. So it was a fun load on a trailer. I spent about 4 months trying to get all the parts that I needed to actually get it running. I ended up changing transmissions, the clutch, and the engine. The 302 that was in it when I started it kicked out so much smoke. I just knew it wasn't going to be worth it. So I had a fresh engine that had about 10,000 miles on it that I dropped in it. This is 306 with a mild cam. I drove it for about 5.5 years till it just started giving me a lot of problems with vapor locking. The inline fuel pump kept losing power. And it just got real frustrating and it just wasn't reliable enough. So I parked it. I started trying to kill some of the rust that was coming through on the rear quarters. And then pretty much went 6 years with just barely at a crawl getting anything done on it. Well, this year, I got a whole lot done on it. I was able to go acquire an entire another parts car. I did the 5-lug swap. I was able to get a second front bumper. The 79 and 82 front bumper for the GTs are quite difficult to find. I'm still waiting on a few other pieces as far as the rear bumper cover, ground effects. Still got to get the wiring done. I've got a Ron Francis painless harness that's going to run my 306 with an aggressive cam. I believe I went E303 on this, but it's been about 5 years since the engine was built. I still haven't got to fire it up. I just have to turn it by hand every now and then. But the bad news is it's going to be taken back to a crawl. I've got enough to finish sealing it once all the rest of my parts get here. And then it's just going to be put on the back burner again for a little bit. Hopefully I can pick it back up this spring. But to keep my sanity and to quell my need for speed, I'm going to keep working on my little 1995 Mitsubishi 3000 GT. It's just a base model. It's not a VR4, so don't get too excited. But it's 5-speed manual. It's a fun little car. Till the Mustang's done anyway. History of this one. It sat beside somebody's shop and rotted for about 7 years in the Texas sun. And pretty much same scenario. The dash was all cracked out and just ruined. The paint was fairly oxidized. I buffed it and it helped some, but I mean, you can only do so much. The hood on it's garbage. It had been wrecked on the driver's side, is why it has replacement panels. I probably have about $1,500 into this little, I call it my Batmobile just for fun. I did a dash swap on it this week, which actually wasn't quite as bad as I thought it was going to be for a car that in reality was years ahead of its time. But that's where I'm at. See, I would like to answer questions as well as ask questions to anyone who watches this video or post comments. That's about all I got in this one. Y'all have a good weekend.